I got a facelift because 1 month ago, I decided to quit my toxic corporate job and be a whole different person for 2026.
This is before I touch my face, and this is me after. I actually think I look so good.
So excited before you come at me saying I'm too young for a facelift, and I should change my mind, By the time you're seeing this post, I've already had my surgery.
20 and 30-year-olds, even young 40-year-olds getting a facelift, I personally think is crazy.
What's interesting is this conversation isn't entirely new. Around 16 years ago, one of the most talked about plastic surgery transformations in pop culture involved a woman who was just 23 years old. That woman was Heidi Montag.
What, you act like I have a new face or something?
When Heidi revealed the results of her new face to her mom in season 6 of The Hills, the reaction captured just how hard it was for her mom and many viewers to process what they were seeing. At the time, this wasn't seen as glamorous or aspirational. It was widely regarded as one of the most shocking plastic surgery transformations in America and arguably worldwide. I remember it being covered across newspapers and magazines. Much of the reaction came from how extreme it seemed then. She was very young, and many felt there had been nothing wrong with her appearance beforehand. Now, Heidi's situation isn't exactly the same as the facelift trend we're seeing today. But what is notable is how differently the conversations are being framed. Back then, the idea of a young woman dramatically altering her appearance through surgery felt shocking to many young women at the time. Today, however, there appears to be a growing trend of women in their 20s and 30s undergoing facelifts and documenting their experiences on social media. But what's perhaps most interesting is the reasoning behind it. We all know that for decades, facelifts were associated with aging. The goal was to look younger. Many of the younger women getting facelifts today aren't necessarily aiming to look younger. Take 28-year-old Jade, who went viral after she appeared on This Morning to discuss her facelift that she had in Turkey.
When did you first decide to opt for surgery, and had you done anything else beforehand?
So I'd previously had fillers and Botox beforehand, and I started that process around 24.
Yeah, this is something I've noticed coming up repeatedly when I was doing research for this video. The younger women who have decided to get a facelift, many have started with Botox fillers or other non-surgical treatments first. And the more stories I came across, the more I realized that Jade's experience wasn't an isolated one.
I've tried every single option out there that is little to non-invasive, right? So I have done radio frequency microneedling to tighten the jawline. I think it did do some good for my skin, right? But not to the standard that I wanted to. I have done filler, which gave me a gorgeous look, but I don't want to keep putting filler in my face. Then I've also done threading. I have done threading 4 times. It was extremely painful. The recovery was a good 4 to 6 weeks. And the results lasted maybe 4 to 6 months.
Now, Jade's journey wasn't exactly the same, but what stood out to me was the similar progression. The facelift wasn't the first option. It came after other cosmetic treatments.
And when I was around 26, I decided I'm not really into fillers anymore just because they start to migrate, and the results, there's sort of roof that you can get to with fillers. They kind of stop doing what they need to do. So I decided to get a facelift.
Listening to Jade, the facelift is being discussed almost like a practical beauty decision. She simply felt that fillers weren't giving her the results she wanted anymore, and that the surgery offered a more effective solution. And of course, she can do whatever she wants to do with her face. But I mean, was it necessary? Facelifts lift the face, skin is cut away, and for someone in their 20s, I can't even imagine how tight the skin would feel after a facelift. At that age, the skin is naturally already firm and youthful. So it's hard for me to wrap my head around how that experience would actually feel like. I also wonder how many of these younger women who are opting for facelifts really think about how their face would feel after the actual facelift.
I'm a little over 2 months post-op since my facelift and lip lift surgery, and I wish someone would have told me this. And honestly, every time I sneeze, I have to hold my face like this and go. If I don't do that, it feels like my face is going to do an elastic band and, you know, just go and like, I don't know, it just feels like it's going to like rip off or like get pulled off. It's bizarre. One of the biggest things I've noticed though is when I'm putting on makeup, my whole face is completely numb. Like it feels like I'm putting makeup onto Play-Doh. It's so weird, like I cannot feel my face at all. When I do blink, like this, I can't blink too hard because it puts pressure.
Now bringing it back to Jade, let's look at what she was actually aiming to achieve with the facelift.
But you're absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
What were you aiming to achieve? What were you trying to better?
It wasn't necessarily achieving a better result. It was about rejuvenation. I felt like my skin wasn't necessarily aging to a point where I needed a complete facelift. It was only a mid facelift, but I did start to notice that actually I want to look more refreshed and, you know, rejuvenated and leave the house without having to wear loads of makeup. And that's been one of the best results as well for me, just looking refreshed and rejuvenated.
What's interesting is that Jade isn't framing the facelift the way people traditionally talked about facelifts. She's not saying she wants to look 5 years younger. Her goal was wanting to look refreshed, rejuvenated, and feeling more confident without wearing makeup.
I think you've said that one of the reasons behind you wanting to opt for surgery is growing up in an age of Instagram.
Absolutely.
What is it about that has driven you to make these drastic changes to your look?
I think, you know, my generation and slightly older, we've all grown up on filters, and that can sort of influence how you want to look, especially if you see yourself in real life. You're not going to look like a Snapchat filter, and I wasn't going for that aesthetic, but sometimes it does make you think, maybe I could get something slightly lifted.
This part really stands out because unlike Heidi Montag's era, Jade is openly talking about growing up with social media filters and how this also influenced her to get her facelift. And I think that's a huge part of why we're seeing this conversation emerge among younger women. What's interesting about this interview is that we also get the perspective of a UK plastic surgeon on the idea of 28-year-olds getting facelifts.
How do you feel about the idea of 28-year-olds going for facelifts?
Generally in patients in their 20s without an underlying condition, it wouldn't be something that I recommend. I think that you're not treating aging at that stage, you're actually changing someone's appearance, how they look. And you have to tread carefully because surgery's permanent.
Looking back at Jade's photos before her facelift, I didn't see anything wrong with her face. She is beautiful like. This interview actually received quite a bit of backlash online. A lot of viewers felt shocked that someone as young as 28 had undergone a facelift, especially because many people looking at Jade's before photos felt she already looked beautiful. In fact, one of the most common criticisms was that the procedure had actually made her look older. And I think what those reactions reveal is just how uncomfortable many people still are with the idea of someone getting a facelift at 28. But Jade isn't the only one who has chosen to get a facelift at 28. In a BBC article about young people turning to plastic surgery, the article featured a woman named Emily who travelled to Turkey for a facelift.
She tried lots of non-surgicals, but she felt like nothing was working.
So we can see, just like Jade, Emily has experimented with non-surgical treatments, but she too felt like those options weren't giving her the results she wanted. According to the article, Emily said she wanted a more snatched look a sharper jawline, higher cheekbones, and fox eyes. And I think this is where the conversation starts to get really interesting. Because compare that to Jade.
I want to look more refreshed and, rejuvenated.
Jade talked about wanting to look more refreshed and rejuvenated. Emily, on the other hand, was talking about achieving a sharper, more sculpted appearance. They're both talking about facelifts, but they're actually describing quite different goals, which makes me wonder whether, for an increasing number of women in their 20s and 30s, facelifts are being viewed as beauty procedures designed to create a more optimized appearance, rather than a way, for example, to reverse sagging or lose skin due to aging. And for some, one facelift might not actually be enough to achieve the aesthetic they want.
I am 31 years old and I am going to Turkey to go and get a facelift. So I already got an upper face, a mid facelift to like lift this bit, and now I'm doing that. So
get ready with me to go to a consult for a second facelift. I don't want to scare anyone because I know it'd be like another one.
So are they all just buying new faces? Let me know your thoughts, because I think when you start surgically altering your appearance, you can start to look like a completely different person. Earlier this year, Sarah Michelle Gellar shared her thoughts on the growing facelift trend among younger women. Here's what she had to say.
When I was in my 20s, the word facelift didn't exist. Like, that's what you got when you were 70 and you were like fabulous, And I see these young girls, and it's so heartbreaking because your body hasn't even developed yet. You don't even know how your face is going to develop. And we put these unreal expectations, and like for me, I want to look like me. It's so heartbreaking because that's a confidence issue. And to have, as someone who is now older and can say, and you get that deep plate facelift, guess what? Confidence doesn't come with that. But I have the confidence because I've been through it all and I'm me. And if I could tell one thing to those 20-year-old girls, it's like you so desperately want to say, don't find the confidence here, and it's heartbreaking. And then you're trying to reverse it later because the effects of what that's going to do to your face at 40 is unknown.
I think she raises a fair point about confidence here, because many of these younger women may be choosing facelifts as a beautification method in hopes that it will make them feel more secure and more confident within themselves. Some plastic surgeons have also suggested that the decision to undergo a facelift at a young age may be driven by deeper psychological factors.
It's so crazy too, because I feel like I've been seeing a lot of girls that are in their 30s getting facelifts. So what do you think about that?
Oh my God. Don't do it. Can I be more clear? It is a terrible idea to do such an early facelift. And girls who are doing that are having some form of body dysmorphia, where you think that you see so much ugliness in everything about you that you think you need to be fixed. And that's a psychological thing. Like, if you can't love yourself at 30, I'm sorry, but you're going to be a very sad person by the time you're 50. Because it does not get better.
And what's really been forgotten here is the fact that confidence comes from within, and it's something that's usually built over time. And let's be real here, a person's skin in their 20s and 30s is usually firmer and at its best anyway.
At younger ages, we're talking about in your 20s, in your 30s, your skin quality is excellent, your SMAS integrity is excellent. There's no real significant aging that's been happening at this age.
I think the biggest consequence is that they're making a surgical decision many years before most people traditionally would. The question isn't just whether they like the result today, it's how that decision fits into the next 20 or 30 years of their face continuing to change.
They're marketing it as a mini facelift. A mini facelift is still a facelift. It doesn't matter if you're just cutting from here, or if you're cutting from here, or if you're also cutting from here. You're still getting a facelift. As a cosmetic dermatologist, you should not be thinking of your face in the now, but rather you should be thinking of your face in the how it is going to age, i.e. the journey ahead, because you only have one face. And if a facelift has a 8 to 10 year lifespan, which by the way, you still need to maintain, if you do it at 35, hypothetically, are you gonna do it at 45, 55, and then 65? What the hell are you gonna look like by the time you hit 70? You only have so much skin, number one. But each time you get a facelift, your face is going to shrink. They take out some of that tissue underneath the surface of your skin. And on top of it, your bone structure is also shrinking. So as you get older and you get tighter and you get wider and you get pulled, what are we going to look like in our 70s?
This is the part that you don't hear women in their 20s and 30s getting facelifts talk about. When you see videos on TikTok of these women documenting their facelifts, the focus is usually on the before and after, the recovery, and how happy they are with the result. But the longer term question, how this decision fits into decades of future facial changes, doesn't really come up. What makes this trend so fascinating is that facelifts were never really designed with 20 or 30 somethings in mind. So what happens when a procedure traditionally associated with aging becomes a beauty procedure for people who are already young? According to some plastic surgeons, this is where things can get a little complicated.
The thing is, if your skin is not actually loose, if the tissues actually haven't fallen and separated, then the lift is just, it can lead to, one, a little bit of that odd look. We've all seen it. Two, the scars can widen. Three, when you do become 40, 50, 60 years old, the second, third facelifts are really that much harder. So less is more. I just keep encouraging this to everybody.
And when you look at individual experiences, people tend to talk about different aspects of the process. This is a woman who got a facelift at 30. A year in, she's happy with the results. And she also talks openly about her experience with scarring.
A lot of the women who have gone to my surgeon specifically are complaining about scarring. I kind of see why. So this is the scarring behind the right ear on my head. It's not bad. Underneath, left side. Some people had like pretty crazy reactions to me at 30 years old having a facelift. A lot of people were telling me to go to therapy and that I probably needed a hug. And maybe I did, but I'm pretty happy with how I look.
Here's Antonia, a content creator who got a facelift at 28. She too openly talks about her experience 2 months after her facelift and some of the changes she says she's noticed in movement and symmetry.
We've nowhere to start. So it's around 2 months since my facelift and lip lift, and I think I've actually got a serious problem, no joke. This is me trying to move my entire face. Why is it that this side is non-existent? If there's anyone out there that knows why this could be happening, I also think that this is a little more rounder than this. Am I just being funny? I'm scared it's never gonna go back.
And while both women describe their experiences differently, it highlights the realities of getting a procedure like this so young. Like, getting a facelift is a big deal. People have different recovery times, there are risks involved, and not to forget, some women may not be happy with the results either. And for Heidi Montag, she has since opened up about her plastic surgery at 23. In an interview with the Cosmopolitan in 2019, she stated that she was way too young to make such a life-changing decision. And she has also spoken on The Doctor's Show about wishing she had gone to therapy before undergoing plastic surgery.
Impulsive decisions. I was too young to be making decisions like that. Everything turned out well, but I certainly wouldn't suggest that. I wouldn't recommend that. I think that I should have gone to like a therapist and thought about why I was doing all these things. So I think that I made these decisions too quickly too. I made it all in 1 month. I was like, great, let's do it. I didn't have a year to think about it.
Although plastic surgery can change someone's appearance, it doesn't necessarily change how they see themselves inside, their confidence levels. Whether we're talking about Heidi over a decade ago or younger women getting facelifts today, self-esteem and confidence can't simply be surgically created. So I'm curious to know what you think about this facelift trend. Let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, don't forget to like. and I'll see you in my next video.